Congratulations, you've just woken up on a Viking longship during a brutal North Atlantic storm. The good news, you're alive. The bad news, so are the raging waves and howling winds outside. Your bed is a narrow strip of tattered cloth stretched across two rough-hewn benches that serve as your sleeping quarters, squeezed between barrels of ale and a heap of iron weapons. It's like camping on a roller coaster, but with less safety harnesses. Your blanket reeks of salty sea spray mixed with days-old body odor. It's like sleeping under an old gym sock dipped in seawater, invigorating, if you're into that kind of thing. The ship lurches under your feet with each wave, sending cold spray crashing over the sides like someone repeatedly dumping buckets of icy water on your head. And just when you think it can't get worse, a particularly brutal gust tears through the rigging, threatening to yank loose any crew member brave or foolish enough to be out there. Your leather armor sticks to your skin like a second layer of mud and ice, making every movement feel sluggish and cumbersome. Your comrades huddle together in the dim light, their faces etched with fatigue and determination. They are grim and ready for anything this storm might throw at them. And that's before breakfast. It's just another day on a Viking longship in the North Atlantic. Stay alive through one more night as the storm rages outside. No coffee machine here, no heated floors to greet you. This is raw survival mode. You blink your eyes against the salty sting as dawn creeps in like a reluctant guest to an unpleasant party. The air is cold enough to bite through even woolen clothing, and each breath feels like inhaling frostbite. Stay awake, stay alive, and maybe, just maybe, find some semblance of warmth or comfort amidst this relentless chaos. Welcome to a Viking's life where every second is a battle against nature itself. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1350. The good news, you're still alive. The bad news, so are your shipmates. Scene, medieval Viking sleeping on a leaky wooden ship. Your bed is actually a thin plank of wood with a wool blanket that smells like a mixture of saltwater and vomit because it's been soaked in both. You're wedged between two other men who snore like oxen and sweat like they've just run a marathon uphill through sand, while their boots poke you in the ribs for lack of space. It's cozy, right? Scene, cramped wooden ship cabin with three Viking warriors. Your home is no longer on land, it's now this floating death trap made of pine planks and tar, your bed being just one long plank among many that squeak and creak as the ship rocks violently against stormy waves. You're sleeping in a place designed for combat, not comfort. Scene, ocean at night with crashing waves and thunder, but here's the thing. You're not exactly sleeping on soft clouds like in your dreams. Your bed is lashed to the wooden deck because if it moves an inch from its spot, you'll be tossed into a sea that's colder than an ice cream truck during winter. It's not just comfort, it's survival. Scene, Viking ship moving through rough waters, and this is just how your day starts. You haven't even faced the challenges of being marooned on distant shores yet, or dealing with the crew's constant bickering over who gets the last piece of stale bread. It's like a modern office meeting, but with less paperwork and more seasickness tablets. Scene, Vikings arguing over food scraps. You're here because you've been called to raid, trade, or explore lands beyond your icy fjords where you'll face not just enemies, but nature's wrath in the form of the North Atlantic storms that can tear ships apart like paper dolls. It's a life filled with uncertainty and danger, no GPS, no safety protocols, just guts and gristle. Scene, Vikings preparing for a storm. You've probably heard about the Viking spirit, brave warriors who fear nothing but a little cold water. But let's be real, you're more worried about the fact that your wooden toilet is tied to the side of the ship, because in this era, it's like Uber Eats but with waste management issues and the threat of drowning every second. Scene, Viking ship's makeshift toilet. And if you think your modern nightmares are bad, try falling asleep knowing that tomorrow could be the day a storm capsizes your ship, or when the crew decides to mutiny over who gets the last bite of herring. It's like a nightmare from which there is no waking up until the next morning, anyway. Scene, Vikings looking out at dark and foreboding seas. Lucky you, you're not just dealing with your own worries, you're also keeping an eye on the weather and navigation for the entire crew. It's like being a captain in a video game, but with real stakes and no save points. Scene, Viking navigating by starlight. So next time someone tells you they'd love to be a Viking because it sounds cool, remind them that sleeping on a ship is more punishment than pleasure unless your idea of relaxation involves the constant possibility of being thrown overboard in a sudden storm. Scene, dark and stormy night with waves crashing against the side of a wooden Viking ship. Who knew survival could be so uncomfortable? And yet, here you are, braving it all to explore the world beyond your known lands where comfort is secondary to courage. It's like being on an extreme version of The Bachelor but without roses and plenty more sea spray. Scene, Vikings preparing for another day of adventure at sea. You wake up to a bone-chilling cold that seeps through your skin like icy fingers of the Norse gods themselves. Your bed is a plank of wood with some rough cloth stretched taut, essentially an IKEA bed frame, but without the instructions and definitely no Allen wrenches. But here's the thing. Imagine if your bed was also your life jacket. That's exactly what it was for Vikings. They were literally lashed to their beds in bad weather, which is like having a toddler tie you up when they're worried about your safety. You try to squirm out of the ropes, but it's as good as being in a straitjacket. Your blanket is more like a medieval shag carpet that hasn't seen detergent since before recorded history. Your only light source is a single, smoky oil lamp that does a great job of casting dramatic shadows but not much else. It's like having your own personal haunted house tour guide right next to your pillow. And if you think it's bad inside, imagine being on deck. The storm rages like a pack of rabid wolves tearing at the ship's hull. It's loud enough that you feel every wave as much as you hear it. But here's where it gets interesting. Surprisingly, Vikings seem to have a knack for navigation even in brutal conditions. Well, they had this thing called storm gazing, which is like trying to find your way home blindfolded during a sandstorm. They would stare into the storm, looking for patterns in the clouds or waves. It's kind of like how you might use Google Maps on your phone during a snowstorm, except their maps were made up entirely of weather and star patterns. And that's just the beginning. If you think surviving in your rope-bound bed was tough, imagine what you're about to face when daylight breaks. Because as Vikings know all too well, the calm after the storm is just another way of saying brave new ways to get wet. But probably not. And that's all before breakfast. And that's all before breakfast. But here's the thing. After a day of battling the sea, you might be thinking, well, at least I get to sleep tonight. Wrong again, friend. You see, there's this little detail about Viking ships that sounds more like a horror movie plot than historical fact. You're already dealing with the cramped space, the constant motion, and the freezing cold. But wait, there's more. Imagine your sleeping quarters are also your toilet. Yep, you heard right. Your bed isn't just a platform on deck, it's right above the bilge water at the bottom of the ship. That's where all the sewage goes. And let us not forget, this is also where any rats or critters who hitched a ride might be hiding too. Because why have one nightmare when you can have multiple? But here's the kicker, and yes, this is where we hit that shocking detail I mentioned earlier. While you're trying to get some sleep surrounded by filth and danger, there's one thing you can't escape, your own waste. You see, in Viking ships, there was no fancy plumbing system or even a proper toilet. So, when nature calls while you're at sea, well, let us just say it happens right where you're sleeping. Lucky you, because unlike modern luxury cruises, your toilet is basically any container that one tip over. And guess who gets to deal with that mess? That's right, you and everyone else on board. So next time someone tells you about Vikings being tough sailors, just remember it wasn't all raiding villages and drinking mead. It was also sleeping in your own filth during brutal storms with no privacy or comfort whatsoever. And that's before breakfast. You blink away the remnants of sleep, only to find yourself shivering uncontrollably. But here's the thing, Vikings didn't just survive these storms, they thrived in them. Or at least they pretended to. You think you've seen cold and wet before? Your clothes feel more like ice cubes than fabric, and your teeth chatter so loudly it's like a tiny personal orchestra playing in your head. But probably not compared to them. They're hunkered down under that ragged canopy, trying their best to stay dry and warm, a futile attempt considering the relentless rain and wind. It's like playing Jenga with an elephant on your back, impossible and just as stressful. You can't miss that stench, it's the scent of desperation and survival, all rolled into one. It's like being in a room full of expired seafood, but it comes with the territory when you're out at sea for weeks on end. And that's all before breakfast, or what passes for breakfast on board a Viking longship. Imagine trying to eat a hunk of stale bread and fish guts while waves threaten to toss you overboard every other minute. It's like eating in a wind tunnel with added turbulence. But here's where it gets interesting. The Vikings had their own secret weapons for weathering these storms, experience and sheer bloody-mindedness. They knew every trick in the book to keep a ship from capsizing, which is like knowing how not to get killed while skydiving without a parachute. It's terrifying but necessary. You watch him struggle with an ancient flint and steel, sparks flying into the wind. He's trying to create warmth in this icy hellhole. Talk about futility. It's like trying to start a barbecue on Mars. These ropes were incredibly strong and water-resistant, but also incredibly uncomfortable to touch. They're the medieval equivalent of sandpaper wrapped in barbed wire. And you wonder why no one ever complained about rough sleep conditions before. So there you are, shivering and soaked, wondering how on earth these people managed to conquer half the known world without proper amenities. It's like being part of an extreme survival show, except it's real and you can't just hit the exit button. And here's the kicker, even birds look more at home in this weather than you do. It's like they've got some kind of cosmic joke going on their side. Meanwhile, you're just trying not to get seasick. So that's what it was really like for Vikings during a North Atlantic storm: endless cold, constant danger, and no room for comfort. But hey, at least they had better stories to tell around the fire than you do about sleeping on your couch with the AC blasting. But hey, at least they had better stories to tell around the fire than you do about sleeping on your wooden bench in the dim light of a Viking longhouse ship. You wake up to the sound of rain dripping onto planks that were once your mattress. Your fellow crewmates are either snoring softly or mumbling in their dreams, their breaths mingling with the chill air. It's like waking up from a nightmare only to find out it was real. Your head feels foggy, but at least you're alive. Rain-soaked wool blanket clutched tightly around your shoulders. You blink away the remnants of sleep, and for a moment, everything seems hazy and distant. The storm outside is still raging, its fury undiminished, but here in this small corner of the world, there's a semblance of calm. Your eyes wander to the fire pit where embers glow softly, flickering shadows dancing on damp walls, casting an eerie light over the wooden beams and rough-hewn furniture. The smell of wet wool and smoke fills your nostrils as you take a deep breath. It's not quite fresh morning air, but it's home, for now. You think about all the tales that will be told around this fire scene, leather-bound manuscripts scattered across an old wooden table, how tonight's adventure will become part of Viking lore. The sailors who survived these storms are the true heroes. Rough-hewn chairs and benches huddled close together. They faced the most brutal conditions nature can throw at them, yet they emerge stronger, more resilient. As dawn approaches, you feel a strange sense of gratitude. Grey light filtering through gaps in the roof, not for being comfortable or even warm, but for sharing this moment with your comrades. These are the people who will stand beside you when danger looms and comfort you when it passes. Their family, blood thicker than water, forged in the fires of adversity. In a world where every day is a battle against nature, raindrops still falling outside, these moments of quiet reflection feel like sacred pauses. A chance to catch your breath, to remember why you set sail in the first place. To dream of distant shores and uncharted territories, all while staying safe within the comforting confines of this humble longhouse. So maybe your bed is just a patchwork of wood and straw, wooden shutters closing slightly as morning light peeks through, but it's yours. And for now, that's enough. You close your eyes once more, letting sleep wash over you like a warm tide. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but tonight, there is peace. You drift off to the sound of waves crashing against rocky shores, memories and dreams intermingling in the half-light, knowing full well that this life is far from easy. Yet, it's your life, and with each storm you weather, you grow a little stronger. And that's what makes all the difference. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1325. Medieval peasant crouching by a smoky hearth in a dark one-room hut. The good news, you're alive. The bad news, so are the fleas. Your bed is a half-rotted straw mattress stuffed with bugs and hay that smells like a barn floor because it was a barn floor 3 months ago. Wooden beams above sagging slightly under the weight of years. There's no memory foam, no pillows, and definitely no Egyptian cotton sheets. Just a wool blanket that hasn't been washed since last winter. You blink awake as the church bell clangs in the distance. It's the medieval version of an alarm clock, only louder and somehow even less merciful. Wooden shutters rattling slightly. Your home is a wooden hut with one room, no windows, and a charming open-concept floor plan where your family, livestock, and domestic insects all share the same space. But that's a story for another day. Today, you're a Viking. And it's not just surviving anymore, it's thriving in spite of everything. Sleep well, my brave friend.